Hello, it's Shamrocker again. Welcome to the Proud Heretic channel. Today's topic is, does God fit the modern pro-life definitions? And this was a personal journey for me through some difficult biblical questions. I grew up in church since I was 10 years old. I'm 57 now, so I spent 47 years as an evangelical Christian. I was always taught that Christianity, now not just evangelical Christianity specifically or uniquely, but Christianity overall, to be a Christian meant you were part of a pro-life, quote unquote, pro-life religion. Now, I was taught that God's concern for every human life, from conception to natural death, was one of the defining characteristics of the, again, quote unquote, biblical worldview. I want to walk through 4 passages and ideas that challenged me. I'm simply asking whether or not our modern slogans actually fit the text. Number 4, hell and the fate of humanity. Well, think about the implications here. The evangelical doctrine says, and as I was taught, is that the vast majority of humanity will go to hell, according to Matthew 7, verses 13 through 14. Straight is the gate and narrow is the way that leads to life, and few there be who find it. I always interpreted that and was taught that that meant that most of human beings are going to hell. Okay? Well, and this is your pro-life God. Keep in mind, the God of love. But we're talking about billions upon billions of people. Perhaps going all the way back to the Neanderthals, who knows? And we're talking about people past, present, and future. Endless torture, endless conscious punishment. That's depending on one's theology. Now, here's the salient question. Can a worldview accurately be described as pro-life if it ultimately concludes that the vast majority of humanity experiences eternal ruin at the judgment of God? Now, as I was taught, as a good Calvinist, is that God predetermines everything, the end from the beginning, and all things in between. He has chosen his elect, and he passed over, or if you believe in double predestination, as I did at one time, then he doubly elected the non-elect to go to hell. And so God planned it that way. God, this God of love, planned that most humans that he ever created would go to eternal misery. So again, I'm not arguing for or against hell here. I've got another video for that. But I'm simply pointing out a tension. And really, for me, it became an irresolvable tension. I decided to quit living with the cognitive dissonance, okay, and rethink and reassess some things. And the same Christians who so passionately defend the sanctity of human life, okay, often also affirm a theology in which most humans are eternally lost because that's how God wants it. Well, this is at least worth thinking about, isn't it? So what I eventually realized, the deeper issue here isn't Noah or Canaan or Numbers 5 or even hell, okay? The deeper issue is that many of us inherit conclusions before we duly examine the evidence. I know I did. I was handed a prefabricated identity as a Christian. See, Christian, biblical, pro-life, conservative, orthodox. No matter what the science said, no matter what people say about how it traumatizes them and hurts them, and if your theology harms your neighbor, then maybe you need to grow the hell up and reassess your theology. Just some friendly advice. If we're going to claim that a belief comes from the Bible, then we should be willing to test that claim against the Bible itself, shouldn't we? So maybe we should just pump the brakes a bit before making things into a dogma that actually ends up harming others and deprives our neighbors of their rights. And sometimes the hardest part of faith isn't doubting God. It's doubting the things that we were taught about God, the things that we were taught that perhaps misrepresented God, perhaps sometimes in gross ways. So for me, that's where deconstruction and thus freedom began.